All right, let's dive into one of the most fascinating little puzzles in the entire Bible. We're talking about a book that quotes, well, a phantom text.
I know. It sounds like a riddle, right? Why on earth does the Bible quote a book that isn't actually in the Bible? It's a real head-scratcher that scholars have been chewing on for centuries. So how did this mysterious text sneak its way into Scripture? Let's find out. Okay, so the whole controversy kicks off in one of the shortest, but man, one of the most intense letters in the New Testament, the Epistle of Jude. You know, Jude's letter is basically one big, powerful warning shot. He's writing to this community that's got a real problem with false teachers, and let me tell you, he is not holding back. His entire goal is to expose these guys and remind everyone of the super serious judgment that's coming for anyone who leads people astray.
So, to really make his point stick, Jude uses this brilliant rhetorical move. He basically creates a lineup of the Old Testament's most infamous villains and says, see these new teachers? Yep, they're just like them. He's building this powerful case by using these stories that, his audience would have known like the back of their hand.
So let's take a look at this, well, it's not a hall of fame, more like a hall of infamy that Jude puts together here.
You can see Jude is building a really clear pattern. He's listing all these figures who are basically poster children for divine judgment. You've got Cain, the very first murderer. You've got the greedy prophet Balaam. You've got Korah, who had the nerve to rebel against Moses. And of course, the legendary wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, what a lineup, right? All of these are heavy hitters from stories his audience absolutely knew.
And this is where our mystery really starts. After laying all this groundwork using these famous Old Testament examples, Jude just throws a total curveball. He pulls out this quote that his readers would have recognized, for sure, but we can't find it. It's nowhere in our Old Testament.
And he says this prophecy comes from a very specific, and I mean highly revered figure, a guy named Enoch. Okay, so you've got to understand Enoch was a total superstar in ancient Judaism. I mean, he's only mentioned for a second in Genesis, but his story is incredible. Get this. He was so righteous that God he just took him straight to heaven. No dying involved. Plus, being the seventh from Adam carried this huge symbolic weight, because 7 is a number of divine perfection. So you can bet that when Jude said Enoch prophesied, people leaned in and listened.
So this is what Jude writes. He quotes Enoch delivering this super dramatic, apocalyptic prophecy. The Lord showing up with this massive army of holy ones to execute judgment on everyone. It's a seriously powerful climax to his whole argument. But where in the world did he get that quote? Well, the source becomes crystal clear when you look at this. The quote comes almost word for word from an ancient Jewish book called 1 Enoch. I mean, look at that. The parallel is just undeniable. Jude is straight up quoting a text that is not in our Bibles today. And this, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. Did Jude actually consider the book of Enoch to be scripture? This one question sparked a debate that has literally been going on for centuries. So the argument really has two main sides. On the one hand, Jude introduces the quote by saying Enoch prophesied. Now, that's the exact same kind of language the New Testament uses when it's quoting official scripture like Isaiah or Jeremiah. But on the other hand, there's a big difference between a text being authoritative and being canonical or part of the official scripture. Think about it like this. A historian might quote a famous general's memoir because it's a respected source, but that doesn't mean the historian thinks every single word in that memoir is infallible, So what's the verdict here? Why did Jude grab this quote from a non-biblical book at the most critical moment in his letter? Well, the answer seems to be a really smart mix of strategy and just plain practicality. All right, so experts have broken it down into a few key reasons. First, it was just plain convenient. That one single verse from 1 Enoch perfectly wraps up themes of judgment that are scattered across 3 different Old Testament books. It's like a perfect summary. Second, there's the language test. The Book of Enoch wasn't originally written in Hebrew, which was a huge deal breaker for canonicity for most of the mainstream Jewish community. Third, and this is a big one, Jude was leveraging the authority of the person of Enoch, who was incredibly revered, not necessarily endorsing the entire book as scripture. He was borrowing Enoch's clout. And finally, you just have to look at the historical consensus. The vast majority of early Jewish and Christian groups did not accept 1 Enoch as part of their official Bible. So here's the bottom line. Jude wasn't trying to sneak a new book into the Bible. Not at all. He was being a master communicator, using a well-known, respected, and honestly, an incredibly convenient quote that his audience would have recognized in a heartbeat. He was using the authority of the great prophet Enoch to land one final, powerful blow against those false teachers. This one little example really shows that the Bible wasn't written in a vacuum. It was part of this huge, vibrant, and complex literary world. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden connections, what other phantom texts might still be out there, just waiting to be discovered?